happens. If you finished your career without a championship, you would not have looked at that as a failure.
No, I would have looked at it as being extremely disappointed because I had a dream and I had goals that I wanted to accomplish, right? And if I don't accomplish those goals, I have to ask myself why, right? And so from my position, the reason why I would not have accomplished those things is poor leadership, failure to communicate properly with my teammates to put them in positions to be successful, lack of preparation, all those things would be reasons why I don't win, right? So now, if that was the case, in my career, I have to sit and I have to analyze that, and then as I move and I evolve, post basketball into business or whatever, those same weaknesses are going to reveal themselves there, right? So if I don't learn from that, I'm going to struggle here too, right? So I can take those situations and learn from those and have them, make me a better person later in life. But if I don't take that stuff and apply that someplace else, then that's failing, which to me is the worst possible thing you could ever have, is to stop and to not learn.
Countless people will tell you how to achieve success, mostly with 5 easy tips or the power of habit. But if you know me and what we do here on this channel, it's take the road less traveled. So that's why this week's video will give you some surefire tips on turning your pretty decent life, possibly even great life, upside down and right into a hot garbage fire, 100% money back guaranteed. You and I are creatures of habit, little pattern-seeking goblins. I'm sure you follow a repeating ritual for certain acts like getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth, in that order for one. You could brush your teeth in bed, but who am I to judge? This is a great habit to develop. It promotes dental hygiene and lets you start the day with minty freshness. Others like to eat breakfast, work out, or enjoy the lax nature of the morning. Obviously, these are all habits of success, and they're no good. Building a consistent and effective morning routine is the basis for success. Some even exert extra preparedness during events of importance, such as laying out your outfit the day before. To induce as much stress and unneeded hurry into your life, sleep until the last possible moment and let the day propel you into the unknown with no preparedness or comfort. Maybe even wait until the consequences far outweigh the amount of sleep you would end up getting, just to really solidify the negative. Sleeping in is one thing, but we're not addressing maximum suffering potential for failure. Instead of just sleeping in, stay up really late the night before doing something that you could do the next day, but aren't prepared to cut off the day you're on for. Mine's video games. Staying up late is weird because there's a sunk fallacy cost that entrances most people. Oh, it's 3 a.m. and I have to be up at 5 a.m.? Better just stay up all night. I've worked days and nights being midnight to 8 a.m. From my experience, people weren't meant to be nocturnal in any sense. Coming home and sleeping till 4 p.m. after you get off is not the move, and it throws off your eating schedule more than anything. I personally have experienced bouts of anger and morbid thoughts when doing these shifts. To give a metaphor, because I don't think we've used one in a while, it's as if an evil eldritch god floating around in space was sending broadcasts of anger and sadness right into my brain. Also probably didn't help I was watching a lot of horror movies and a YouTube channel by the name of Exerbia, who is a huge inspiration for this channel. I actively have to go watch his and others' videos to make sure I don't plagiarize. This combination of crack and weed made my eyes bleed. Wu-Tang! If this little anecdote of my own suffering from lack of sleep doesn't convince you, then maybe the biology will. Some of the many benefits of sleep, but not limited to, are you get sick less often, steady weight is easier to maintain, lower your risk for serious health problems like diabetes and heart disease, reduce stress and improve mood, and so much more. Sleep is for those who enjoy living and feeling good. Not sleeping, or having a plan for sleeping, is A1 to start a steady decline. Typically, successful people are seen as honest, hard workers who always try to do the right thing. Look at Keanu, everyone loves him, and he seems to be a decent person. In order to correct this for our purposes, start lying needlessly. Lie about everything. How's your day going? When you messed up? When you can't make it to certain events, giving the most unbelievable excuses, even like your dog just had a birthday 6 weeks in a row. Little things at first, but soon it will come natural, and more likely, you'll be caught in your web of lies. Most people don't enjoy being lied to, so once you're known as a needless liar, it only goes downhill from here. Let's use a person from history as an example, and trust me, it'll hit. Richard Nixon lost his campaign for presidency against pretty boy Catholic All-American JFK, which didn't go too hot for JFK, but he's not who we're using in this example. Every dog has his day, and the abrasive rough and tumble Nixon would become our 37th president years after that poor Kennedy fellow had his accident in Dallas. Dick Milhouse Nixon, despite his later years, was a president with fairly good approval ratings, with a personal all-time high just around 67%. Not bad. It's only after the whole thing with the water in the gate that he would go on to resign from the Oval Office at a meager 24%, the only president in United States history of 245 years to do so. 245 isn't really that long of a time anyway, but still. To become president, you by definition have had a successful political career. One might go on to say you've had the most successful political career depending on the actions you take as president. Even being forgettable is bad at this stage. I don't know about you, but Bill Clinton is a cool dude, and the thing he did doesn't really change my opinion of Slick Willie. It's taught in schools, though, that Nixon was a villain for his involvement in Watergate. If you don't know what Watergate is, then allow me to illuminate you. Watergate was an act of espionage committed on American soil by Americans against other Americans. More specifically, Nixon paid Americano-Cuban nationals 200,000 big ones to break into Democrat headquarters and steal some sensitive info. Unfortunately for Slick Dick, his plans would fail when a security guard saw that there had been a break-in. It would be revealed by the former deputy director of the FBI going by code name Deep Throat, that Nixon was involved in the Watergate scandal, releasing the information to 2 reporters at the Washington Post. This would lead to an investigation that ultimately revealed that Milhouse had been keeping tapes of conversations happening in the White House. Aw, government doesn't like that. Government doesn't like invasion of privacy. Feels bad to have a weak old taps on you. Nevertheless, the American people wasn't too fond of this, leading to that resignation I had mentioned earlier in the video. You may only know Nixon from the Watergate scandal, but prior to these events, his notable achievements as president include: in 1973, he ended the draft, moving the United States military to an all-volunteer force; founded the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970 as a response to rising concern over pollution. The agency oversaw the passage of the Clean Air Act and Clean Water Act. Nixon also became the first president to give Native Americans the right to tribal self-determination by ending the policy of forced assimilation and returning their sacred lands. All in all, his career was headed on the path to a relatively successful presidency. However, it was his execution of lying out his ass about everything that cut that pretty short. Nixon would never see jail time. He should have, and would have, but received a presidential pardon from Gerald Ford. So, yeah. Richard Nixon was at the top of the world, literally, leading the #1 nation to a prosperous future. If only he were a straight shooter. Prime example of how to be a failure, though. Great job, Dick. This is a textbook example on why being an honest person is only for the successful, and how being a lying shit is an A1 tip to failure. Nixon's a good segue into our next tip. Traits are just as important as habits, and being a bitter, mean person, for no apparent reason, is a great start to failure. Keeping your emotions in check is for the well-adjusted. Being able to compartmentalize your life is too hard for us looking to fail. So let's get messy. Here's the lowdown, and this part's easy. Let your emotions run rampant. Got caught off in traffic during your commute? Take it out on your coworkers. Unexpected bill? Oh boy, your family looks like prime targets. Blame everyone but yourself. All the cool failure kids are doing it. Spiral into needlessly negative emotions for no reason other than it's easier than actually facing your own problems. Empathy, compassion, responsibility, all overrated and overplayed for the successful. Throw those all out the window, we don't need them. You're watching this video on turning success into failure, so I assume you already know the importance of these traits. One that often goes unnoticed is consistency. It's not enough for successful folks to have traits mentioned earlier, but they have to be consistent too. Unbelievable. We here do brief spurts of inconsistent, stagnant work. Here's some days we're powerhouses to be sort of reckoned with, other days we may as well be a rock. Having off days is okay, even for the successful. You can't be perfect all the time. But you should try and follow a routine of, okay, this is when I work and this is when I relax. Following a routine is a great way to build positive habits and traits. It creates stability in your life that otherwise isn't there organically. Discipline and consistency, both extremely underrated aspects of success, but since this is how to be a failure, don't do any of those. What better way to show this than by giving another example? Everyone knows about Richard Nixon, but I guarantee you most of you have no idea who James Dyson is. Our story begins in Norfolk. That's in England for my Americans. A young man who has lost his father at an early age to cancer takes an interest in mushroom-shaped auditorium theaters. Looking for funding, James seeks a senior engineer, Jeremy Fry, at the university he's attending, however is denied. Despite being denied for funding, young James would go find himself in the midst of a new mentor. Fry would ask James to design an aquatic cargo craft by the name of the Sea Truck. Following the success of the Sea Truck, James would go on to design other vehicles successfully. Unfortunately, trouble was brewing at home. The Dyson family was exceptionally dissatisfied with their new top-of-the-line Hoover vacuum. The bags, the filters, and suction was lackluster, often resulting in clogging. Fortunately, with his engineering prowess, Dyson would start tinkering on some suction designs using a rotating filter to trap debris in a reusable container. No bag needed. James would go on to produce over an astounding 5,000 prototypes till landing on the final product of the first Dyson vacuum. And the world would never be the same. Taking a look at the sheer number of attempts, it's fair to say Sir James Dyson, who would be knighted later in life for his contributions to British engineering and technology, knew a little thing about consistency. Dyson would make over 1,000 of these prototypes a year. To say his investment had favorable returns is an understatement, as Dyson Appliances continues to break technological innovations with releases like the bladeless fan. Dyson, the company, is estimated to be worth a cool billion and some change. So yeah, it pays to suck. Dyson's consistency in pushing forward through 5,000 failed attempts is insane. The sheer number is insanity. I would fail 8 times doing something and probably give up, but 5,000? Unthinkable. However, to those who know success, every failure, every miscalculation is a learning opportunity to go forward from. It's a fairly common saying that you don't learn anything from success. To those watching this video, in order to fail, you have to have an utter lack of drive or consistency, provide nothing to the world, not even positive emotions, be a negative, inconsistent, lying shit, and failure is sure to follow. I guess this could also be a guide on how to be successful if you watch it backwards or something, but like I said in the beginning, the road less traveled. I've been your host, Gideon. I hope you found this video entertaining, useful, or downright appalling. Like and subscribe for more, and new videos every Friday.